Hi all, I'm Age from Liquid Earth. It's a channel all about video and photography, so if that interests you, subscribe. I'm posting every single week. Today though, we're looking at the stabilisation modes on the DJI OM4, and we're pitting that against the iPhone, and I'm just going to be hand holding that for comparison. And we're going to be trying that out in a lot of different scenarios. So stay tuned and let's get started. So first up, we're just going to have a standard normal walk, and we're going to walk just along the riverbank, and we're going to test out the DJI OM4, and then I'm going to hand hold the iPhone for comparison. Let's get going. One thing I find with the OM4 gimbal or the OM3 is that it's nice and easy and comfortable to hold. The grip's really comfortable. There's no stress at all. Sometimes with the iPhone it's a bit more difficult because you're either holding it with two hands or you're clenching it, and it's a bit more tricky. And you'll notice a few wobbles here. The iPhone will do pretty well under these standard conditions, although it's more difficult to keep the horizon straight, and the OM4 is marginally better. You can improve your footage a little bit if you do the ninja walk. The only trouble is you look a bit daft doing it, but you can reap the benefits, so the footage is smooth. You don't get so many wobbles. So here I am looking rather silly, but notice the wobbles are far less. Now if you look at the side by side, again the iPhone does pretty well. The OM4 is slightly better, but there's not a great deal in it. So in this example I'm going to crouch down and just walk by the side of the log and see how that turns out. Okay, I confess I wasn't crouching down that much, just holding it by the side as I'm walking along. Again, the OM4 will do great at just keeping it really level. Hand holding the iPhone, more difficult to keep it level, a few more shakes and wobbles. But again, it doesn't do too bad. And here's the side by side. So a bit smoother from the OM4, but actually you'll get away with the iPhone footage here. So it's situations where you have to get really low that I find more difficult hand holding an iPhone. So in this scenario, I'm going to film my dog Poppy, and we're going to get down really low and see how that turns out. Let's take a look. Well, a dog may not be the best model, but here it's really comfortable to hold the gimbal. You hold it by the side or turn it upside down. Footage is really good, nice and smooth, no problems at all, and the horizon is lovely and level. Much more difficult though when you turn to the iPhone, so you're crouching down, it's much more uncomfortable. Lots of jitters and shakes, the horizon is all over the place, so it's far worse at these sorts of angles. And then you can look at the side by side and you can see straight away the difference. Look how the horizon is wobbling about. Just so much more difficult to keep it steady. One thing to bear in mind when using the iPhone is it's got inbuilt stabilisation, which is great, but it needs to crop the image. And it needs to crop the image so that it can make the image stable. And by doing so, it means it's going to reduce the quality a little bit. But even though I'm using the gimbal, it's still going to crop the image, but because it's not so shaky, it's not cropping quite so much. So what about the tilt where we can raise and lower the camera? Let's check out that comparison. Pretty reasonable with the OM4, nice and smooth, actually no problems at all. Again, it keeps the horizon nice and straight. And when you move with your arm, then it's nice and smooth. Bit more difficult again with the iPhone 11, it's just holding it. You can see the horizon is just turning a little bit sometimes. Overall though, a pretty good job, not too bad. And then you can look at the side by side and you can see the difference. The OM4 is slightly better. Again though, you probably just get away with the iPhone here. And what about if you just hold the camera steady, you want a nice static shot? Let's check that out too. You have to concentrate a bit more to hold the iPhone steady, but if you do, you won't really see much difference at all with these static shots. And then you've got the pan. So for this shot, I'm just going to pan slowly across the lake, see how that turns out. It's definitely very simple when you're using the OM4. And you can use tilt locked if you want here as well, so it keeps the horizon dead straight. You have to concentrate a bit more again with the iPhone. I'm not perfectly straight here, but it does an acceptable job. Slightly better from the OM4, but I think I'm nitpicking here. Before I give my conclusion, just take a look at this footage here, recorded on uneven, slippery ground, And even though I'm holding the iPhone at head height, it's still so difficult to keep your eye on the subject and get smooth footage at the same time. This is with the gimbal then, really smooth, even when you're stepping down here from uneven ground, keeps nice smooth footage. And this is the iPhone then. For me it's night and day with so many more wobbles and bumps in the footage. I also find this when you're walking or running around a subject or a person. I really couldn't do without the gimbal in these situations. You can really appreciate that here with the gimbal footage on the left. It even looks cinematic in places.
So overall, even though the iPhone does a great job, it is better and smoother with the gimbal, and it's particularly so when you're at awkward angles or low angles or on uneven ground. But what do you think?
Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe if it was useful. Really do appreciate your support. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Take care.